Okay, so previous in the previous tutorial, I talked about how you can actually place these components in this interface, and how you can move them or delete them, this type of stuff, right? So at the very last part of the tutorial, I talked about connecting these components together with cables. Okay, so I decided, I actually showed you that we need to connect them using straight through cable. Okay, so but we did not connect them, so now is the time to connect them together and show you that how we can actually do that. So at first we're going to be clicking on connections, and then we're going to select copper straight through. Okay, copper straight through cable. So I'm selecting this, and then you can see that my mouse cursor has already changed. All right, so it is showing basically a plug point or something like that, maybe. So just a wire like figure. So I'm going to be connecting using this symbol. Okay, so at first let me click on my computer. So I'm going to click on that, left click on that, and if I click on that, then I get different types of options. All right, RS232, USB 0, USB 1, fast Ethernet 0. So these are basically ports. Like your own computer has different types of ports, right? If you check out your CPU or central processing unit, you will see that there are different types of ports. There are HDMI ports, there are USB ports, there are USB type C ports, or there are multimedia ports, etc. So there are different types of ports. All right, so like in real life, here whenever I click on a PC, then I can see different types of ports too. So what we need to keep in mind is that whenever we want to create a connection, we need to connect it using a fast Ethernet port. Okay, these are basically ports. So I can't connect it, I cannot connect it on USB 1 or USB 0 or RS232 ports. I need to connect it using fast Ethernet ports. You can check it out in another way. Just check the symbol. Okay, just check the symbol. This symbol, this yellow symbol here, looks like a Ethernet port. You can check it out by what can I say, by checking out your own real life router. All right, so in our routers, when where we plug our main wire of the internet, so that plug point exactly looks like this yellow symbol. All right, so this is how we can understand that this is the port we're going to be using to connect or to set up this network connection. All right, so this is the port I'm going to be selecting. So I'll click on that, and it gives me a wire like thing. So it means that one end has already been connected to PC1, but the other end is still not connected. So why do I want to connect it? So I'm going to be connected to this switch. Okay, so I'm going to be clicking on that switch, left click, and I'll see different types of ports again. So this switch, this model actually has so many ports, so many free ports here. So almost all of them are Ethernet ports. So some are fast Ethernet ports and some are gigabit Ethernet ports. Only one is console port. So again, we're going to be using Ethernet ports. Okay, Ethernet ports. So you can connect it anywhere, any fast Ethernet port or any gigabit Ethernet port. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be using the very first one because it is already free. So we'll always try to maintain this sequence. It doesn't matter if you don't maintain the sequence, but it's a good thing to maintain the sequence. So since the first port is free, I'm going to be using the first port, and I'm going to click on that, and that's it. My connection is already set up, but you can see that there is a orange light blinking. So we need to wait until it becomes green. All right, it usually becomes green all by itself within a few seconds, I should say. But I'll show you a way if it doesn't become green within a few seconds. So let's just take a few seconds here. So I hope it becomes green by itself. Okay, yeah, so you can see that the color has changed. It is green now, so it means that the connection has already been set up, and the connection is working. All right, so if the light here is sorry, if the color here is not green, if it stays like orange or red, that means there is some if the color is red actually, then it indicates that there are some problems. But if the color is orange, then it just indicates that it needs some time to uh, to to become green. Right, so you need to wait a few moments to see this green connection here. Okay, so now I want to connect the switch to the router. So I'm gonna be taking, okay, so I'm gonna be taking another straight through cable, and then I'm gonna be clicking on that switch. So when I click on that switch, I get different options. You can see that the first port here currently is now 0/2. Previously it was 0/1. You can just rewind the video to check it out again. So I'm gonna be selecting this one. So when I select this one, then it gives me an open end, which I'm gonna connect to this router. So I'm gonna click on this router, and then I can see that there are different types of ports. All right, so there are 4 Ethernet ports actually. So 0/0, 1/0, 4/0, and 5/0. Others are not Ethernet ports. I can see that these are serial ports, this is a console port, this is an auxiliary port. So I'm going to be using the Ethernet ports. So I'm more specifically, I'm going to be using this first Ethernet ports, and since the first one is free, so I want to connect it here. All right, so I'm gonna be connecting it here. So yeah, that's the connection. I have already set up the connection, but here you can see that these are actually red, right? These connection points, these ports are usually these ports are not green, these are actually red. So this indicates that this connection is not set up. We need to set up this connection to see the green color. Okay, so setting up this connection means configuring this router and etc., setting up IP addresses and etc. All right, so we're not going to be sorry, we're not going to be talking about this right now, but yeah, this red color indicates that this connection is not ready yet. We need to make it ready by ourselves. It doesn't get ready all by itself. All right, like this one, this got ready all by itself, but this is not like that one. All right, so this connection we're going to be creating ourselves, and we're gonna set up ourselves. All right, so for now we just need to know that what this green light means or what this red light means, and whenever we're gonna be learning router setup and router configuration, then we'll see that this when we set up the router, then these red points become green. All right, okay, so another point is I'm connecting these Ethernet cables, these copper straight through cables. I'm connecting these copper straight through cables in fast Ethernet ports, right? So let me just show you again what I mean. So if I take this cable and I want to connect, then I'm connecting it on fast Ethernet cables. So why am I connecting it on fast Ethernet cables? So basically what I'm doing is I'm creating an internet connection between these devices. So I'm using Ethernet cables. The cables we use to create internet connection are called Ethernet cables. The cable you are using in your home, it is called an Ethernet cable. So these cables, if we want to use Ethernet cables, then we definitely want to connect it on Ethernet ports. It's like if you use an USB, if you use a USB, then you can't connect it on Ethernet ports, right? You need to connect it to USB ports. If you use a headphone, then you can't just connect your headphone to a USB port. You need to connect it to the port that is you need to connect it to a port that is actually right for the headphone, right? So every device has their has its specific ports. All right, so that's why if we want to use an Ethernet cable, then we need to connect it to an Ethernet port. That's why we're using Ethernet ports, and these are called fast Ethernet because initially when Ethernet ports were invented, then these ports were not that fast, but after some time it got upgraded and the speed was speed was dramatically improved. So after that, to keep a distinction, they named it as fast Ethernet. So that's why it is called fast Ethernet. But these are basically Ethernet cables. Sorry, Ethernet ports. All right. So that's why we actually connect Ethernet cables to Ethernet ports. So that's why I'm gonna be connecting it to an Ethernet port. So you need to keep this in mind, that whenever we want to use a copper straight through cable or a copper crossover cable, for these two types of cable, copper straight through or copper crossover cable, for these two types of cables, we need to connect them to Ethernet ports. You need to keep this in your mind every time, because if you connect it anywhere else like USB port or console port, this will not work at all. All right. So if you use copper straight through cable or copper crossover cable in your project, then you definitely need to connect them into fast Ethernet ports. All right. Alright, so let me just show you a quick what can I say, a quick tips to get a good idea regarding this interface. So here you can see that I can see my ports. Each of the ports is shown here, like first Ethernet 00, first Ethernet 02, first Ethernet 01, first Ethernet 0, etc. So all the ports are being shown here. Alright, so maybe this might not be your case, by the way, because sometimes in your own PC you might not see all those port numbers, because there's an option here from option preference, and if I don't tick this one, always show port labels, then you can see that there are no port numbers at all. Alright, so your interface might look like this one. So if it looks like this one and you want to see the port numbers, then you can do two different things. One is you can just move your cursor over those ports, and you will see those port numbers actually. However, mine is not showing right now. Sorry. I accidentally disconnected the cables, but yeah, usually it shows there. Alright, so mine is not showing currently, but maybe yours one might show, I don't know. But what is better is actually going into preferences and then tick this option, always show port labels in logical workspace. Alright, so if you tick this option, then you can see that you will always see the port number. So this is actually very beneficial to us, because we'll know which port we need to work on. Like there are two ports, and this one is first Ethernet 00 and this one is first Ethernet 0/2. Alright, so we know that if we want to set this router, if we want to set up this router, then we need to work on this port of the router, this 0/0 port. We don't want to work on other ports. You can see that if I move my cursor over here, I can see all the ports, and from this point I can easily know that I want to work on the first Ethernet 0/0 port. I don't work on the 1/0 or serial ports or other ports. Alright, same goes for this one too. So yeah, this is very much beneficial for the users, as it shows the port numbers specifically, so that users can easily know which port they need to work on. So this tip might come in handy for future tutorials or future lectures.